Well, greetings and salutations, and welcome back to the second half of today's upload, the conspiracy side. Before we get into it, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. The links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. My merch displayed directly under this video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with today's second half of the upload. Shall we? The Vatican is considered to be one of the oldest and most conservative institutions in the world, and therefore we come to consider that the Vatican and extraterrestrials are incompatible. In May of 2009, however, the Vatican officially declared that belief in extraterrestrial life was to be considered fully compatible with the Christian faith, an idea that was punished with death during the Inquisition. In an article published in 2008 in his official newspaper, L'Osservatore Romano, and entitled The Extraterrestrial is My Brother, Father Jose Gabriel Fuentes, director of the Vatican Observatory, Jesuit, Argentine, said that astrology, it is a perfectly respectable science, and that on other planets there may be life. According to Catholic doctrine, all human beings are marked by original sin caused by the rebellion of Adam and Eve against God, and then cast out of Eden. Since extraterrestrials do not belong to Earth, they may not be marked by original sin. The paranoid conspirators claim the Vatican is moving with some sort of disclosure. There is a kind of disclosure movement on the part of the Vatican. They consider it a measure intended to prepare the public for what is known as disclosure, a revelation by the governments of the earth that we are not alone and that contacts are being made with extraterrestrial beings. The priest, Giordano Bruno, defender of the extraterrestrial idea. In the Middle Ages, the idea of extraterrestrial life was expounded by some religions. In the 1600s, the priest, Bruno, was burned at the stake for claiming that life could exist outside of our planet. In 2000, Pope John Paul II, Juan Pablo II, expressed his regret for what happened to Father Bruno, as this was the moment when they stated that the greatest danger does not come from earth, but from the heavens. Theologians and astronomers of the Vatican Observatory have many times declared that on all the planets of the universe there could be beings who follow God as men do. The Vatican's alleged interest in intelligent life, in other words, the theologians of the Vatican affirm that the theory of existence of life on other planets is more than probable, since even God does not limit his intelligence and his power, and that beyond human beings and angels there could be others who believe in him and in his glory. According to what they say, these beings could protect and help humanity in the environmental issues that are ruining the earth, and also help the religiosity and belief of people who have no faith in the Catholic Church. Some UFOologists claim that it will be the Vatican itself that will announce the existence of contacts with other forms of intelligent life. According to some theories, it would be a good deal for the Vatican to announce an event like that. This, as it would gain more power in politics, religion, economics, as well as more trust from its loyal and non-loyal followers. This maneuver would also give the Pope absolute power over all religions. The Vatican would have an advantage over all humanity. Who better to announce to the world that there is extraterrestrials and/or contact was made with the Vatican? Hypothetically, such an event would be an essential move on control of the masses and the domination of the Christian religion, a way to improve and strengthen its system of domination and control of the masses. Theories aside, numerous independent sources have predicted that the Vatican's disclosure of extraterrestrials is imminent, and that the Obama administration is called upon to play an important part. The Vatican is also preparing to play an important role in this announcement and in the world of pre-disclosure or post-disclosure, Its emerging theological position that extraterrestrials are our brothers is a change from the more hostile representations of extraterrestrial life found in some religion denominations and in Hollywood films. On the other hand, the idea that the Vatican could justify sending missionaries to convert extraterrestrial beings born without original sin raises no major problems. The Vatican is playing a constructive role in preparing the population for the imminent disclosure of extraterrestrial life. Let's talk a little bit more about that Unholy Alliance, huh? After World War II, the Vatican, the CIA, the ex-Nazis, and the Sicilian American Mafia forged an alliance to fight the Cold War against the former Soviet Union and growing pro-Soviet influence in Europe and the rest of the world. In a recently published book titled Operation Gladio, the Unholy Alliance between the Vatican, the CIA, and the Mafia, journalist Paul L. Williams offers disturbing new evidence that exposes what he calls an unholy alliance. The story began in early 1942 with the formation of the Vatican Bank. The same year, the Office of Naval Intelligence, the predecessor of the CIA, recruited Lucky Luciano, a drug lord. The Swiss director of the Office of Strategic Services, Alan Dulles, concluded, "We are fighting the wrong enemy, Alan Dulles." The Schutzstaffel, better known as the Nazi SS, sent a message to Dulles through the Vatican that the Nazi government wanted to make a separate peace with the United States. They wanted to fight the Soviets. Dulles met with Prince Max von Hohenlohe in Bern, Switzerland. Hohenlohe found that Dulles agreed with him. Dulles later also met with other Nazi officials to forge a new alliance. For his part, the chief of special intelligence for the OSS in China, Colonel Paul Helliwell, thought of another unholy alliance between the United States intelligence community and organized crime. Lucky Luciano, consequently, U.S. intelligence agency broke mob boss Lucky Luciano out of jail, allowing him to build his narcotic empire, and simply sat by and watched the flow of drugs flowing into the black ghettos and much of New York and Washington. The unholy alliance of American spies and criminals was repeated everywhere, from Laos to Burma to Panama. After Richard Nixon became president in 1969, the strategy of tension gained more momentum. The national advisor Henry Kissinger gave orders to Licio Galli, an Italian fascist agent of Propaganda do P2 Masonic Lodge, to carry out terrorist acts and coup attempts. The United States and the Vatican invested millions of dollars in these operations. Most of the money was raised in questionable ways. The first major attack in Europe took place on December 12, 1969, when a bomb exploded in the lobby of the Banca Naziola del Argenteuola in Milan, Italy. 17 people died in the explosion. Within an hour, 3 bombs exploded in Rome. According to official figures, 14,591 acts of politically motivated violence took place between January 1st of 1969 and December 31st of 1987. In these terroristic acts, 419 people were killed and 1,181 injured. All these attacks were falsely blamed on far-left anarchists and Marxist groups. A large number of similar terrorist acts were carried out in other European countries between 65 and 81. After a series of foiled assassination attempts on French President Charles de Gaulle, he denounced the Pentagon's secret war and expelled the European headquarters of NATO into your country. In Latin America, the CIA and the Vatican launched Operation Condor, the Latin American version of Operation Gladio. Any government risked attack through this operation if it advocated the nationalism of private industry, radical land reform, and trade policies accepted of Soviet aid, or an anti-American foreign policy. The CIA and the Vatican began Operation Condor in the 70s when Opus Dei garnered support from the Chilean bishops to overthrow of government of President Allende. The Catholic group was working closely with the CIA-funded organizations such as Patria Libertad, which later became the feared Chilean secret police, Kissinger and Pinochet. In 1971, the CIA began shelling out millions of dollars to the Chilean Institute of General Studies, an Opus Dei think tank, for planning the uprising against Allende. Many IGS members joined the government after the coup. Heron Kublos became Minister of Foreign Affairs. He was the founder of Quapasa, an Opus Dei magazine, and editor of El Mercado, the largest newspaper in Santiago de Chile, which is subsidized by the CIA. In his book, Williams shows that the Vatican was fully involved in Operation Condor. The Pope became fully involved in the purge of left-wing clerics. The leaders of the military junta were devout Catholics. The Vatican didn't abandon General Pinochet, even when he was arrested in Britain for the murders of thousands of Chileans. The Vatican's Secretary of State, Cardinal Angelo Sodano, wrote to the British government on behalf of the Pope to demand his release. Under Pinochet, hundreds of thousands of Chileans disappeared, while more than 4,000 were killed. More than 50,000 Chileans were tortured in the name of the Catholic God. The CIA's dirty war was perpetuated in many Latin American countries with the help and blessing of the Vatican. William quotes the FBI speaker, Sybil Edmonds, who said, "Between 1996 and 2000, we, the United States, planned, financed, and helped execute every major terrorist incident carried out by the Chechen rebels against Russia. Between 1996 and 2002, we, the United States, planned, financed, and helped execute every single uprising and terrorist act in East Turkestan. Between 1996 and 2002, we, the United States, planned and carried out at least 2 assassination plots against pro-Russian officials." This is the real story, and it's not told on TV, my friends. And it still gets darker, my friends. How I warned and warned that Satan would enter into the highest realms of the hierarchy in Rome. My third secret, my child, is that Satan would enter into my son's church, Our Lady of Roses, May 13th, 1978. Father Malachi Martin's accusations. In the Fatima Crusader article, Malachi Martin, a scholar, Vatican insider, and best-selling author, said, "Anyone who is acquainted with the state of affairs in the Vatican in the last 35 years is well aware that the Prince of Darkness has had and still has surrogates in the court of St. Peter in Rome. From 1958 until 64, Jesuit priest Malachi Martin served in Rome, where he was a close associate of and carried out many sensitive missions for the renowned Jesuit Cardinal Augustin Bey and the Pope. Released afterward from his vows of poverty and obedience at his own request, but still a priest, he ultimately moved to New York and became best-selling writer of fiction and nonfiction. Martin had made first reference to a diabolical rite held in Rome in his 1990 nonfiction bestseller about geopolitics and the Vatican, The Keys of This Blood, in which he wrote, most frighteningly for Pope John Paul II, he had come up against an irremovable presence of a malign strength in his own Vatican and certain bishops, chancellors. It was what knowledgeable churchmen called the superforce. Rumors, always difficult to verify, tied its installation to the beginning of Pope Paul's the ninth's reign in 63. Indeed, Paul had alluded somberly to the smoke of Satan which has entered the sanctuary, in oblique reference to an enthronement ceremony by Satanists in the Vatican. Besides the incidents of satanic pedophilia, rites, and practices, was already documented among certain bishops and priests as widely dispersed as Turin in Italy and South Carolina in the United States. The cultic acts of satanic pedophilia are considered by professionals to be the accumulation of fallen archangel rites. These allegations have largely gone unnoticed, possibly because he was so crafty in his descriptions that he might even have been referring to the coronation of the Pope himself. But he revealed much more about his alleged ritual in one of his latest works, Windswept House, the Vatican novel, 1996. In this story, he vividly described a ceremony called the Enthronement of the fallen Archangel Lucifer, supposedly held at St. Paul's Chapel in the Vatican, but linked with concurrent satanic rites here in the United States on June 29, 63, barely a week after the election of Pope Paul. In the novel, before he dies, the Pope leaves a secret account of the situation in his desk for the next occupant of the throne of Peter, a thinly disguised John Paul II. According to the New American, Martin confirmed that the ceremony did indeed occur as he had described. "Oh yes, it is true, very much so," the magazine reported him saying. "But the only way I could put it down into print is in a novelistic form." Martin's accusation of satanic ritual at the Vatican is also rumored by John Loeffler, host of the Steel on Steel radio show. Mr. Loeffler personally asked from Malachi Martin, who had been a regular guest on his show, about the reported dedication to Satan within the Vatican. Malachi confirmed the first part of his book, Windswept House. He confirmed the dedication of the Vatican to Satan in a secret ceremony that occurred unknown even to the Pope at the time that he managed to pick it up. And I did ask him, was it true? Did it happen? And Friar Martin said, yes, it did. John Loeffler, June 29th, 2000, radio show. Malachi Martin said, more members of the clergy are becoming aware of the situation. The Archbishop several years ago also accused high members of the hierarchy in Rome of practicing Satanism. The Italian newspaper, Tempo, and other major daily papers reported this stunning news. His book, The Windswept House, is a sweeping novel set on a grand global stage and unfolding of the next stage in civilization, the ominously named New World Order. It tackles head-on a number of heavy issues, from abortion to the third secret of Fatima, but the essential message seems to be this: Satanists lurk in the shadows, from the heart of the Vatican down to local parishes, manipulating those duped by false spirit of the Vatican. They are doing their damnedest to subvert the Roman Catholic Church. In the Windswept House, Martin was quite explicit about the conditions in the Vatican, opening the novel with the above-mentioned satanic ritual. In it, Satan was formally enthroned in the Vatican in the chapel of St. Paul. The ceremony was coordinated via telephone with another simultaneous rite in South Carolina. But these minor quibbles, like the keys of this blood Windswept House, is written for wide and not necessarily Catholic audience, but both books give an odd feeling of being intended for John Paul himself. It's as if Keys was written to show the Pope that Martin understood what the pontiff was doing in the geopolitical arena and address his concerns for the church's internal situation. Windswept House, however, is much more dramatic and desperate plea to the Pope. Just how bad did Martin judge things to be? Extremely so. Suddenly it became unarguable that now, during the papacy, the Roman Catholic organization carried a permanent presence of clerics who worshipped Satan and liked it, of bishops and priests who sodomized boys and each other, and nuns who performed the black rites of Wicca, and who lived in lesbian relationships every day, including Sunday and holy days. Acts of heresy and blasphemy and outrage and indifference were committed and permitted at holy altars by men who had been called to be priests. Sacrilegious actions and rites were not only performed on Christ's altars, but had the conveyance, or at least the tacit permission, of certain cardinals, archbishops, and bishops. In total number, they were a minority, anything from 1 to 10% of the church personnel. But of that minority, many occupied astoundingly high positions of rank. The facts that brought the Pope to a new level of suffering were mainly two: the systematic organizational links, the network, in other words, that had been established between certain clerical homosexual groups and satanic covens, and inordinate power and influence of that network. At the time of his passing, July 27th, 1999, Martin was at work on what he said would be his most controversial and important book, Primacy: How the Institution Roman Catholic Church Became a Creature of the New World Order, was to deal with power and papacy. This work was to analyze the revolutionary shift that lies at the heart of what many see as the breakdown of papal power. It was to be the book of predictions about the Vatican and the world in the first decades of the new millennium. Malachi Martin never recanted any of his claims that the scene of Windswept House was based on actual satanic ritual in the Vatican in the first days of the reign of Pope Paul, nor that there exists a general satanic conspiracy within the Roman Catholic Church. And the murder of Pope John Paul. The Blessed Virgin Mary's apparitions in Bayside, New York, stated that Satan has entered into the highest realms of the hierarchy in Rome, would also explain some very dark secrets surrounding the death of Pope John, who mysteriously died of a heart attack slightly over a month after the election. Regarding the alleged heart attack, his niece affirmed, "In my family, almost no one believes it was a heart attack that killed my uncle. He never had heart troubles or any illness of any kind." San Juan Star, October 3rd, 1978. And Pope John Paul's brother, Eduardo, in Australia on the trade mission, reported that the Pope had been given a clean bill of health after a medical examination 3 weeks ago. He was frail in health as an infant and as a young priest, but there were no reports of heart trouble. San Juan Star, October 9th, 1978. On the early age, so untimely a death might have stirred up deep suspicions. If this were the time of the Borgias, said young teacher in Rome, there'd be talk that John Paul was poisoned. But the Vatican replied that such allegations were irresponsible. San Juan Star, October 18th, 1978. The fact is, Our Lady's message at Bayside, New York affirmed, man has fallen very low, even resorting to murder. We will go back, my child, in history, a short history, and remember well what had happened in Rome to Pope John, who lasted 33 days. Oh, my child, it is history now, but it is placed in a book that lists the disasters in mankind. He received the horror of martyrdom by drinking from the glass. It was a champagne glass given to him by the now deceased member of the clergy and the Secretariat of State, Cardinal Villatte. Sound incredible? Please note that 1975 ruling from the Vatican ordered that no autopsy could be performed on the Pope. How convenient. What does the Vatican have to fear from an autopsy? Not just Our Lady's message points to foul play. There's a best-selling book by David Yellop that also alleges Pope John Paul was murdered. In God's name, an investigation into the murder of Pope John Paul. You know, it's sad. It's sad that something so sacred, pure, has so much dirty, dirty, dirty secrets behind that door. Yet there are so many good people in the Roman Catholic Church. Like, I have met some of the nicest. Father Pat was like the coolest priest growing up. Guy was badass. For real. Used to drink beer with my dad, sit by the pool, smoke cigarettes. He's from Boston. Swore like a fisherman, man. He was just the coolest guy. You know, real nice guy. I'll never forget that I had went to the toy store around the corner from my house, and I came back with 2 new G.I. Joe guys from my allowance, and I was talking to my mom about the new Snake Eyes figure. I'll never forget this, because I ended up getting like Storm Shadow and I think Quick Kick. I remember this very vividly, and I said, Mom, you know, I will do more chores. Can you please like spot me the money for my allowance? And she went inside to get my $5 bill. And Father Pat said, you are a very good boy. You do a lot for your mom and dad, and you guys, you're just full of love. Just something of that. I was an altar boy as well for a brief period of time. And he said, here. And he gave me $10. And then I said, Mom came out, and she's like, she got kind of mad at me for taking it. And he said, no, I gave it to Jeffrey. He's a good boy, and he does so much. You know, because I did stuff around the church and stuff like that on, you know, like church school nights and stuff like that. My mom was a church school teacher, and so, like, you meet so many good people, but then there's the bad. There's always the bad in these high organizations. And it's so sickening. Unbelievable. But I will tell you that someday, if the apocalypse happens or whatever, I will spend an hour in the Vatican Library. That's all I want to do. I really, if I could have any dream of going anywhere in the world, I would like to spend time in the Vatican's library. And with no any kind of, you know, stop in front of me. I can read anything I want. Can you imagine the information there? Just imagine the information there. Unbelievable. The history, just the I don't know. Now I'm talking like a fool. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. Please practice kindness, and may the Great Spirit watch over us all, and may He guide us down that path that we call life. Till tomorrow, my friends. Until tomorrow.